DJ, this shirt was a wrong choice. I feel like this shirt is too close to my skin tone.
I just keep thinking you have like giant skin tags.
And you won't even watch an STD episode of Stranger with Candy, but you'll look at my skin tags.
You're just shirtless, as you often podcast shirtless. It makes sense. And then you're just flapping those things around.
DJ, first off, thank you for this opportunity to be here with you virtually.
Yeah.
I think we all learned a lot during the pandemic.
One thing is that we don't have to go to each other's houses.
And I don't have to watch the movie at a specific time. I can watch it whenever I want, which is always at a specific time, Monday, in a panic. Hey, Deej.
Yeah.
I still haven't made a decision while I was talking.
Oh, that was why you started talking. We were supposed to generate.
I'm going to give you these choices three.
Okay.
I have three options.
Okay.
What
I like
I
is
had like 3-card Monty or something.
The audience already knows what we've chosen. That's the best part about this.
That is the best part. This is just for you and me. Just a little treat for you and me.
The only people that don't know what we're about to do is you and me. And you know at least.
This is a weird like time portal we're stuck in. Okay.
Okay.
I'm going to give you choice A.
Okay.
I'm going to give you choice B.
Okay. I see where this is going.
I'm going to give you choice 3.
Okay. Switcheroo. Okay.
There are wrong answers though. Now did you memorize which of my fingers were each? Because now I'm gonna move them around.
Are you gonna give me any like
Okay. 2 are shows.
Okay.
And 1 is a film.
Okay.
A full length by the definition of the Motion Picture Academy of Arts and Sciences.
Okay.
Which I believe is 70 minutes or more.
Now I'm lazy, so already I'm leaning film, but let's keep going. What else you got?
Of the shows,
yeah,
1 is English, 1 is American.
Okay.
Both are beloved by the gay community. The film is a notorious flop that almost tanked one of our most megalomaniacal corporations out there today.
Ooh. Now you're going to make me seem, like a bigot if I don't pick a show.
Tricked you.
Okay, so, I mean, I am nothing if not a people pleaser. So let's pick one of the shows. Let's eliminate the film for now. I'm sure we'll do it later.
I've never seen the film also, by the way.
Okay, now it's back in contention, I guess, because the only gay person I know in my life is, really
I'm the only one that science has found yet.
Can you give me...
The rest are theoretical gays.
You're like the...
We can tell by the weight of the earth how many gays are on it. But I'm the only one that they've found so far.
Well, and you were actually a different kind of the skull of one kind of gay on a different gay, and then they like a brontosaurus.
I'm actually a baby gay, and they didn't realize they were actually adult gays.
Okay. Give me eras, I guess.
Okay, 1 is the early 80s.
No,
the film is the early 80s, and the 2 shows are 90s. Shows, but 1 is from the beginning 90s and 1 is from the late 90s.
Okay.
So both Reagan or Clinton era shows. Actually, 1 might be a little bit of a Bush era show, or they might have said Thatcher era.
Okay. I want. This is rough because I am very lazy, so that keeps coming into my head.
Do you have any idea what the options are?
I have no idea.
Oh, okay. Interesting.
I'm going...
I thought the gay thing would have given it away.
I'm going late 90s series.
DJ, you have chosen Strangers with Candy.
Oh, no.
I couldn't be more pleased. One of the great ironies of this universe is that David Sedaris, a gay man, is straight culture, while Amy Sedaris, a presumed straight woman, is gay culture.
I do love Amy Sedaris. Could not get into this show at all. You remember famously when it was on the air. No, we weren't.
No, we weren't friends yet. But famously, I protested the show at every opportunity I got. What kept you at arm's length from this show, which I believe aired from 1999 to maybe 2000
Yeah. This was a peak me watching Comedy Central thing, and there were just
all of us watching Comedy Central.
Some shows that I was like, this is not for me. This was one of my, I think, formative young adult experiences with, I want to like this, but this is not for me.
You were more of a strip mall guy, Comedy Central strip mall with Julie Brown.
Yeah, I only watched Crank Anchors.
I wouldn't be friends with you if you were like, oh, I couldn't get into Stranger with Candy, but you know what I loved? Cranky Anchors.
Those guys yanked a lot of cranks.
One of my, you can cut
surprisingly
this
not the gay one.
One of my favorite jokes, and one of the ones that me and Tyler quote from Kimmy Schmidt is, Titus thinks someone's pulling a prank on him, and he's like, is this a cranky anchor? And Carol Kane, beloved Carol Kane, gets to say the line, it's not a cranky anchor. And if it was, they would call you because it's in person. And I just like that Carol Kane had to reference cranky anchors.
So tell me about the connection. I didn't know necessarily, other than you, the connection to the gay community that this television program has. This is, Stranger with Candy, Amy Sedaris, Stephen Colbert,
Paul Dinello, and Greg Holloman.
Okay.
They're all Second City alums, I believe. And I think that's how Amy Sedaris and Paul Dinello and Colbert all met. They all met at Second City. And I think the weird thing about this is Colbert got his job on The Daily Show, and then this show premiered. And I remember seeing the commercials going and thinking, wait, isn't that the guy from The Daily Show?
Yeah.
You can't do 2 shows. There are laws.
Labor laws.
He has to have a tutor on set, and he can only do 1 show a day.
When do you sleep, Stephen?
And I remember also being put off by it because I didn't know what it was.
Yeah.
But then I think there was a marathon because Comedy Central was just like, we got this show. And I think one summer, like during the lunch hour, they would play Stranger with Candy, and I instantaneously fell in love with it. It's a parody of after school specials. It's a parody of things that are like a little too old for us to understand. And it's based on a specific woman who used to go to schools and talk about how she was on drugs throughout her teenage years and, went into prison for decades at a time. And she was like an inspirational speaker that would come to schools. And that was the inspiration for Jerry Blank. Jerry Blank plays a 41-year-old teenage dropout, as they describe her all the time. And she returns to high school, and no one ever comments on the fact that she is clearly older than everyone else in that high school. She has a lot of life experience, I would generally say. She has a gray moral code, and she's patently disgusting. And Stephen Colbert and Paul Dinello play 2 of her teachers who are having a gay affair. Secretly, but very obviously having a gay affair. I don't know. I mean, there's a camp element, and also the fact that Jerry Blank was very openly bisexual in the show. She hit on everyone on the show. And then you have this very soapy sort of gay love affair between these 2 people that is very toxic and abusive. And that's a recipe for gay people loving this shit, eating it up.
You know what just hit me just while I was thinking of Stephen Colbert in the show? When Stephen Colbert was doing the Colbert Report on Comedy Central, I remember having a little bit of bristling, just like kids these days, of like some people only knew him from that and didn't realize, that he had done The Daily Show and Stranger with Candy, which I don't know why I cared. But
and now people are forgetting the Colbert Report.
I know.
Know him as
and now
TV
people
show
know him as this sort of like very washed out version of himself, or like comedically washed out version of himself.
Yeah.
I think more power to you. I think it's his dream job, and like he seems very like happy with it. And it's just like, again, not my version of Colbert, not my favorite. Like the humor, just like I think he's doing his best. It's just like this sort of the network version of Colbert is very like milquetoast to me, and so it makes me sad that they're like, you don't get to see how funny it was at the time. And I realize some of it has probably aged like milk as far as the political incisiveness of the Colbert Report. But I remember at the time, like, is the 1-2 punch of that era Daily Show and Colbert Report was just like one of the funniest
during the
things.
Bush years, especially. Yeah.
Yeah. Funniest things. And, like people like blame it for like the sort of, in some ways for like the liberal mindset and stuff like that. Whatever. As far as like actually making me laugh is what I'm talking about. Like, and so that's another reason why when I watched this, I brought the Daily Show Stephen Colbert, which I found very funny, which is also very like, he plays a similar way and then he's like plays it kind of straight, but it's very off the wall. And so I was like, I don't understand what's happening. I don't have time for this.
He does that thing that we talked about during Austin Powers, which he has an innate ability to say stupid things in a smart way that I always find very charming. I agree with you. I'm very happy for him. And I remember when he got the Late Show gig, I was very happy for him. But I also remember thinking that the Colbert Report, even more so than the Daily Show, was such a unique thing on TV.
Yeah.
And we were losing it forever. And I felt so sad.
Yeah.
But this isn't about that. We're not talking about the Colbert Report, Deej.
We can.
No.
Let's go ahead and
you can do that for your episode if you want, and it will be much harder to track down stuff. We're going to do Stranger with Candy.
Okay. Do you know what episodes you want to watch?
Oh, yes, I do. Okay. Well, obviously, we'll do the pilot. There is a racism episode that is very good in season 1. I can't wait to be uncomfortable talking about it during when we come back. There's also an episode where a blind kid wants to join the football team, and I want to watch that one.
Okay.
I'll have to go through. There are so... Oh, there's one where Jerry becomes a cheerleader, but they find out when they're doing the cheers, when you have to like spell out Victory, that she is illiterate. And that's a really good one. Oh, man. Oh, and her father dying. That's a great one.
Oh,
I'll get back to you.
Okay. We're going to watch Strangers with Candy. Watch along with us. We'll be back. Oh, yeah. It has very similar to like...
I stole the TV. Did some more time. But now I'm back in school. God, I love her so fucking much.
I also love Amy Sedaris' line when she plays the realtor in Broad City. When they're like,
Where's isn't a bathroom?
Where isn't the bathroom? You remember that one time when you were out smoking cigarettes instead of supporting your favorite podcast?
Yeah, but cigarettes are cool, and it gets me time to spend with my friends.
Damn, that's a good point.
I mean, no one goes on websites anymore. Everyone's smoking cigarettes.
They certainly don't go to patreon.com/YourInnerChild'sAnIdiot and support our show. Because that's for nerds. I'm not doing this well.
No, you're still supposed to be convincing me to stop smoking.
It's just
you immediately caved to the pro-smoking agenda.
You made it seem so cool.
And that's said to me often about many of my interests, like smoking and, drawing comic strips. Everyone's like, oh, you just make it seem so cool.
Yeah. You just, if you have an oral fetish, you got something to do.
That's true.
Yeah.
You should see my pens now that I quit smoking. They're all mangled.
But if you have an oral fetish, you might want to support our show, patreon.com/YourInnerChild'sAnIdiot. You can support at different levels. We'll say your name in the credits.
That, buddy? Okay.
We'll say your name in the credits. We got your name in the written credits. You get extra bonus episodes. You got backlog episodes, which you can also get for free. Anyway.
Early episodes. You get your episodes early, just in case you're busy on Wednesdays, but you're free on Mondays. You can listen on Monday instead of having to wait until Wednesday.
Yeah. And once they go in the Disney vault, you can only get them through our Patreon page.
Can't believe we rented that vault from Disney. There's plenty of vaults we could have used.
We could just use a regular vault. In fact, we don't need a vault. We could just put them on a hard drive. Patreon.com/YourInnerChild'sAnIdiot. Jesus Christ.
One of our worst ones. And the fact that we went in with a plan makes it sadder.
Yeah.
Plan.
And we are
like
back.
Fucking Ocean's 11. Sorry, go ahead and do it again.
And we are back. We watched Strangers with Candy.
We did.
Did you watch all of them, or did you watch the select episodes?
I watched the select episodes that we listed, but me and my lover had such a good time that we were probably going to go back and fill in the blanks, pun,
Nice.
and watch the other episodes, because I was so sad that you and I didn't get to watch the cult episode where Alan Tudyk comes to town and tricks Jerry and other people into joining a cult. I was sad that we missed the episode where they get hooked on steroids to run track better. I was sad that we missed the episode where Jerry gets an eating disorder so she can join the debate team. It's just a real treat. So I want to fill in those blanks.
I don't want to spoil anything for later in the episode, but I will not be doing that. So just to catch everybody up, we always watch first and last. We watched season 1, episode 1. We did not watch the unaired pilot.
No.
Although you were very scared that I did.
I was scared you would.
We watched season 1, episode 6, Let Freedom Ring. We watched season 2, episode 2, Behind Blank Eyes, which is my favorite, The Who song.
I didn't even know that was a reference to anything, so that's great.
We watched season 2, episode 4, The Goodbye Guy. We watched season 2, episode 5, The Blank Page. We watched season 3, episode 1, Jerry's Burning Issue. Upsetting.
That's a good one.
We watched season 3, the last episode, season 3, episode 10, The Last Temptation of Blank.
The Jerry's Burning Issue, when we watched it, I realized that is probably the episode that me and Tyler quote the most at each other.
Wow. Okay.
That and in the last episode, she goes, "Think about it. I didn't.
Yeah.
That is something I like to say.
You say that all the time, and now I say it, and I thought I got it from you, but you got it from a television
No,
show.
I stole it from more talented comedy writers.
It is. I would encourage, I mean, we'll get to some other lines, but I would encourage anybody to use it because it's very confusing for people when you just go, think about it. I didn't. Season 1, episode 1, Old Habits, New Beginnings. I got this one. Actually,
you want to handle that one?
You get this one because I definitely can't recap season 2, episode 2. So if we're doing every other, I need to get that one covered.
Why can't you recap that one?
Because I don't remember what happened.
Behind Blank Eyes is your favorite Led Zeppelin song.
Yeah. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So just sing the song, and it should track pretty closely to...
No one knows what it's like. 10 seconds or less, or we get sued to oblivion.
Is it 10 seconds? I thought it was 30 seconds. Ooh.
I honestly don't know. And I think...
and we're not lawyers.
Yeah.
Old Habits and New Beginnings. This is the pilot episode that aired, where Jerry is unpopular, as she will remain for most of the series. Her popularity rises and falls as needs must. But in this one, she tries to gain entry with the popular girls by cooking them up a street drug known by the name of glint, also known as Satan's hair lip, which is a drug that you just rub on your lips, and it's apparently hallucinogen and will make you do crazy things. In this case, it makes the popular girl think that she is a bee and try and fly through a keyhole, which kills her. However, when she dies, Jerry becomes popular by proxy, and she's really enjoying it. But then at the wake for the popular girl, which is really just a high school party, she realizes that the punch bowl is the same bowl she cooked the glint in. Everyone at the party gets high. They accidentally kill her pet turtle. And then she learns that bad things can happen.
There's not a doestheturtledie.com. Otherwise, I wouldn't have watched this episode. I wouldn't have agreed to it.
In the first season, they have a running joke where each episode she has a new pet. And each episode, the pet dies. Like, for example, in the episode where she gets an eating disorder so that she can be thin enough to be on the debate team, she has a silky chicken that ends up getting fried, and she has to eat it at the end of the episode.
Don't care for that.
What I liked while watching it is that I felt like you were on my shoulder in a little devil costume, and I could sense, like, I think this is the point where me and DJ's senses of humor split. They're very close.
Yes,
they're very close.
We
but
learned
I was
that.
when I saw the clitoral bell hanging from between her legs in the second episode, I was like, "Ooh, I don't know if this is something that DJ would find funny as much as I find funny."
Yeah, there's a
And
lot
for
of that.
those listening, yes, I didn't stutter. Clitoral bell.
Yeah.
She
Oh,
has
yeah.
a piercing of a bell. She calls it the Liberty Bell. And at one point, she is running with her pants down, and you can hear it tinkling.
And you get a shot from behind, and you see it
almost
hanging
like The
down.
Graduate, but with a
Yeah.
tiny little bell hanging at the top of your screen.
Yeah, I don't know. It's because I wouldn't say I'm not like offended. You know what I mean? Like it's not so
You had
much
to go
that.
find pearls to put all around your neck to clutch them.
I would understand if one is offended, but
I think that's part of the goal.
That's
for Strangers with Candy.
It's just something about like this. There's a sort of a gross out thing where I find some of it funny, and then there's some line somewhere where I'm like, this isn't funny to me anymore. And it's like
I don't like that.
Yeah, and it's particular things. Like it's not that when they rub the glint all over their lips, that's not like more gross than the clitoral bell, but I don't like that either. It's just visceral enough.
Nature. Yeah, there's a visceral nature to this show.
Yes,
at times.
The way she does her face, which is famous with her, like her neck tendons are always sticking out because of the face she's making.
She's always stretching her mouth horizontally as far as it can go, which makes her neck tendons stretch out.
Yeah.
And then they add makeup to make her eyes look sunken. Yeah. And then also just give her terrible makeup, like actual makeup that is applied to a human being. They give her like usually electric green or electric blue eyeshadow. I feel like every episode they add a new thing to her look.
Yeah.
So that she looks...
her teeth are like brown.
Yeah. In the third season, her teeth have like a baked bean quality. And then she has like knuckle tattoos. She's like a stick and poke tattoo on her forehead. She's always wearing like lipstick that I'm like, oh, it's the absolute wrong color for her. It's like a nude lipstick that's really bright white. And she's like wearing electric green eyeshadow and like really chipped nail. But she looks like she smells. By season 3, she looks rough.
Yeah.
I want to say one thing. So Amy Sedaris, since this show has gone on, she's released cookbooks. She likes entertaining and she does cookbooks that are semi-serious and also semi-comedic. And in that cookbook, I was so pleased as a Strangers with Candy fan that there is a recipe for hot fruit, which is what she serves at the party, the wake/party in this first episode. Yeah. And the recipe for hot fruit was buy fruit at room temperature, chill, bring to a boil, and then serve at room temperature. So you're just constantly changing the temperature of the fruit. And it's in a picture, I believe, where it's covered in tinfoil, which is my favorite gag of the cookbook, in that you cannot see what the finished product is.
Is that for every...
No, just like a selection of dishes where they're all just collected on the same page, and all the recipes are listed like on the margin of that page, and all the images, they are covered in tinfoil and you can't see what they are.
That's funny.
It's funny.
I do find that funny. She says this at the beginning of the episode. There's like every episode there's like a recap over the theme song.
In the first season, it's integrated like into the scene, but then they eventually wise up and make it the theme song.
And it's for 32 years, I was a teenage runaway, which I think you mentioned in the intro, but I just have to throw that out because that is very funny. And so
I was a user, and a loser. I made a lot of friends, did a lot of time. I stole the TV, did some more time, but now I'm back in school. Me and Tyler like to say, back in school, or whatever we're back in. We'll say it with that little punctuation on there. I had a friend that I introduced to this after college, and when she says, I stole the TV, that is what you would send him into hysterics. He loved it every episode when she said, I stole the TV.
Wow.
Did some more time.
I pretty much only think the first line is funny. For 32 years, I was a teenage runner. I don't know what that says about my sense of humor, but I was going to say this before, something we learned as we were roommates, and a lot of our, obviously, you've learned for 10 years of doing this podcast, a lot of our tastes overlap, but a lot of them don't.
That's fine.
And we learned where that line was, and where I would just go ahead and yeah, I'm going to go ahead and retire to my room while you're watching the full DVD box set of Stranger with Candy. But anyway, so tell me about, we talked about this in the intro a little bit, so we don't have to spend a lot of time on it, just the after school special vibes. So are you like picking up all the references they're making
to actual after school specials?
Yeah.
No.
Because I looked at some of the, I didn't, obviously, because I'm me, I didn't do a lot of research, but they were actually referencing, in some cases, specific after school specials. And I thought that was interesting. I just don't think that I watched a lot of those. Like, I'm familiar with the trope, like with the like silly kind of thing. I'm familiar with obviously sitcoms that kind of mock that or even embrace that. Like the kind of like moment of Full House at the end of the episode is very after school special vibes, but I didn't watch a lot of them so much that I remember.
I feel like after school specials just by
Gen
a
X,
hair.
maybe.
Yeah, they were a Gen X thing.
Yeah.
They're by a hair. They're before they aired when we were alive, but we would not be aware of them. They're much more of a Gen X, like ironically watch thing, I think. I have seen clips of Florrie Fisher, who is a woman who inspired Jerry Blank. Like if you look this woman up, she looks exactly like Jerry Blank. The hair is spot on, and she would give inspirational speeches with a cigarette constantly lit in her hands. And she talked in a very pointed way, which very much mimics, I think, that initial speech that Jerry gives. I was a boozer, a user, and a loser. Like that. It's very very like a scared straight type presentation.
Okay.
And
she does look like.
Yeah,
totally
when I think I might reference this a lot in this episode, but there is a Pally Institute for Television interview that they did with Colbert, Greg Holloman, Paul Dinello, and Amy Sedaris, where they talk about a lot of their inspirations. And that's when I learned about this Florrie Fisher woman. I was like, this is a real person. But yeah, it is
doesn't
startling.
Look nearly as hideous as they make Amy Sedaris look.
First episode, Jerry, she looks almost exactly like her, and they sort of go off on their own tangent with Jerry. I'll also say this. One of the things I do like about Strangers with Candy is that even though it is so ludicrous in its portrayal of a high school, there are certain things that it picks up on that really make me feel like it's one of the most spot-on portrayals of high school in certain ways. The fact that the teachers do not seem to like Jerry at all,
and do not hide it.
And the teachers actively crave the approval of the popular kids in a lot of episodes. You can see that Chuck Noblet, Stephen Colbert's character, and Mr. Jelinek, Paul Dinello's character, just want to be around the popular kids, and when they're rejected by those popular kids, they're despondent, and when when the popular kids like them, they're so pleased. I think about this is later on in the episodes we watched, but there's a scene where they're supposed to be reading aloud in class, and the cheerleader is like, "Oh, we're having a game on Friday, so I really want to save my voice." And Stephen Colbert says. He says, "You're so beautiful." And then he hands her $100 bill and says, "Go buy yourself something nice." And while that is ludicrous on its face, I remember as a very nerdy, unpopular kid, getting the feeling that my teachers did not care for me and really did crave the attention of the popular kids in school.
Yeah.
And I feel like that is a place where it diverges from the inspiration of the after school specials, because I feel like those always had teachers who were like, "Tell me what's going on."
Yeah.
And these teachers do not care. Or they will put up a front of saying they care. And then when the kid leaves, they're like, "Shut the door. Go away."
Yeah.
I
remember getting very upset about
that
in school, because it was like, but they get in trouble. Why are they like palling around with these people who are in trouble all the time?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Who don't do their homework and are disrespectful and disrupt class all the time.
There are rules, and I'm following them.
Reading. I did my homework. You said I was smart on my homework. Why don't you want to hang out with me?
You gave me all
Coach
those pluses.
Also, I mean, Stephen Colbert does a really great job in this. He goes, for homework, we're reading chapters 16 through 23, and he only writes 3 on the board. Oh, I love it so much.
He also does the classic Stephen Colbert calculator bit.
Oh my
just
God.
like mashing his hands into the
Not
calculator.
hitting specific numbers, just mashing knuckles on the calculator pad.
Which I think I've seen, Colbert do in everything he's ever been in, and works for me every time.
It's not even the only time in this show he does it. In the later show, Jerry gets like a career aptitude test, and when he scores the test, he just does. It does work every time. It works.
Great.
I know it's coming when if I watch the Late Show or if I watch the Colbert Report and he would get out a calculator or anything. I'm like, I know what's about to happen. It's like playing Freebird for me. I'm like, he's gonna do it.
He's gonna do it.
He's gonna do the thing.
I have a quote here, but I don't remember the context. We all read the note.
Oh my God, that's when she's talking about I think a yeast infection she had. And she says to Mr. Noblet that I have a note from my doctor, and he says, we all read the note. So apparently it's been passed around and everyone's been seeing it.
Okay.
And she has it, she's waving in front of his face, and he like slowly pushes her hand down. I do like they obviously have a rapport. I did some research after we talked. I should have done it before the intro, but they were in Second City. And then they were in a show that I only vaguely remember, Exit 57.
Yeah.
Which I think was...
It
was either on MTV or was it on Comedy Central?
I'm not sure.
I confuse it with The State a lot.
Yeah. No, it aired on Comedy Central from 1995 to 1996.
But apparently when they were at Second City, I think that Amy and Paul dated briefly. And they did not like Stephen Colbert.
Whoa.
And because they thought he was like kind of a square. And then as they got to know him, they realized that their humors sync up. But they thought he was like a nerd because, he teaches Sunday school and all that Colbert stuff that's become lore, I feel like now. But I think they slowly realized that he was fun.
There's a moment where, just to highlight, so the principal, Onyx Blackman, nice. He has these distraught parents like behind a curtain. He just like reveals them, which was very weird. It's a very weird moment, but it did catch my
later
eye.
Those same parents are at the high school party, still grieving but also seemingly having a good time.
Yeah,
it's so weird. I did write a quote from this same meeting from Onyx Blackman because everyone in this series does this thing that I always love, which is purposefully clumsy dialogue, like purposefully unnatural dialogue. And he brings Jerry in because now they're investigating this student's death. And he says, do you know who supplied the drugs that took her life from her frail yet popular body? Just emphasizing once again that this is a popular student that died. So we really need to look into it.
Really, we don't need to talk about it anymore. I'm really not amused by the turtle endangerment and murder.
True. Well, she does I feel like it really telegraphs that it's going to happen because she keeps saying, and I cannot reiterate enough that I will be devastated if anything ever happened to you. Also, a staple of the show established in this first episode and going forward is that Jerry always has a speech where she tells us explicitly what she has learned at the end. Usually starts with, I got something to say. And in this one, she says, I wrote this down. We will soon forget where we place this time. No, this isn't even her. This is when they're building the time capsule. Ignore everything I said. But I do like Jerry's speeches at the end.
What do you want to read? What you did write down?
Well, they do build a time capsule, and they say, we will soon forget where we place this time capsule, and sooner still, who Poppy Downs even was. And I love that because I remember doing so many fucking time capsules in school. Many? At least 2 or 3 over the course of my school career. Was I ever around to see them unearthed? Do you ever open the paper and say, oh, look, a time capsule has been unearthed from 1984. Let's see what the students were doing then. We know what they were doing then. We have newspapers and all this stuff.
Do you ever write yourself, journal for the future, email yourself or anything like that?
I mean, you just watch me do a reminder to myself. That's how I get my brain to work now.
Yeah.
I get the robots to do it for me. I don't need memories of my own.
We can talk about this more later because there's a daddy-centric episode, but her dad is like a stroke victim or something. He's like frozen in place.
He is every time you see him, he is very frozen. But
Yeah.
They've said in interviews that the joke for them was that he is very active. You just never see him being active. Like every time the camera is on him, the actor who was hired specifically because he was older but could hold himself in place very still, would be completely frozen. But then sometimes you'd be like Derek, her stepbrother, be like, hey, Dad, can I get the keys? And you'll just hear a jangling, and then all of a sudden the keys will be on his fingers. But he's still frozen. It's such a weird gag.
It's weird.
It's fucking weird.
I appreciate the follow through. You know, my friends and I once had a whole sketch that we filmed and never saw the light of day because it wasn't funny, but it was called Apple
Many
Dad.
sketches suffer from that.
It was called Apple Dad, and it was basically an apple, in much the same way where if you looked at it, it was just an apple, but then like at some point it'd like drive a car and it would like, you know, people would react to it as if it was talking, you know, and it wasn't funny. Similarly to this bit.
Similarly to me describing it, it was equally unfunny.
But I appreciate that they followed through with it, unlike me, who were like, this isn't funny, and we just scrapped it.
Like, let's just keep at it.
My favorite part is the dance party credits, which are established in this first episode. So it's not always the same, but there's usually, at least in the episodes we watch, there's some sort of dancing during the credits.
Yes, that is a staple as well.
Yeah. And I
like to say that Shrek stole it from them, rather than the other way around. Sure. I know dance credits are sort of frowned upon now because they've been beaten into the ground by DreamWorks, and I imagine Minions. I've never seen a Minion-related movie, but I imagine they're dancing during the credits.
Yeah, that seems
Don't
right.
tell me I'm wrong. In my heart, I know I'm right.
Honestly, it's similar to a well-done blooper reel. I still like it. I'm still charmed by it. I think, is it overdone? Yeah, but I still like it. And
it is, in this context, it is charming. I do like seeing that characters are usually at odds with each other seem to genuinely get along. I'm trying to think if there is an exception. I think the only time, and this is still counts, in the cult episode, they get Steven, which was technically a blooper, but they worked it in as the end credits. He sings like this Catholic Sunday school song, and he sings it directly to the camera, and then eventually he just starts dancing, improvising a dance. It's very charming.
Yeah.
But that's the only time where it's just him dancing. But
I could probably watch
dancing.
a Lord of the Rings extended edition length movie of just Stephen Colbert dancing. There's a supercut. There's a supercut on YouTube that Lauren and I used to. We haven't pulled it up in a while that we would just watch sometimes. And some of it's from this show. A lot of it's from The Daily Show. It's from Late Night. It's from. I don't think he had done what's the one he's on now?
Oh, you mean The Late Show is what
The Late Show. Yeah. But it was like Late Night with Stephen Colbert was the old show he was on. Before he did. No.
You mean Colbert Report?
No, didn't he do like another talk show before he went to? Okay, then I don't know what I'm talking about. It was
you don't.
Maybe there's some of that. I don't know. It's a bunch of clips of him and different things, and it's great. He's a great dancer.
One last thing I do want to mention before we go on to the next episode, because I just learned this while watching this. The police officer at the beginning of this episode that's doing that assembly is the fourth creator of the show, Mitch Rouse, who also was in the Exit 57 clan. Don't say clan. And they ruined that word. The Scots, I mean, they ruined the word clan. He's the other creator. I didn't realize that he doesn't appear in many episodes, I think, aside from that role, but he's the other creator of the show.
Okay. Season 1, episode 6, Let Freedom Ring. Someone spray paints a racist slur on the wall.
Yeah.
And they got to get to the bottom of it.
I know what you're thinking. Yes, it's the one you're thinking of.
Yeah. Most importantly, it's our first experience with the teachers showering together in the lounge, which is like a locker room. Which is funny. That was a pretty funny bit.
Yes, and this also one of my favorite recurring gags throughout the show is that much like the vibe of the Inspiration, the after school specials, not only do we have our main characters dealing with like the big story of the thing, in this case, racism, but everyone else is dealing with racism in some other way. And so like when Principal Blackman first sees the slur spray painted, he's trying to get the kids to disperse. So he's like, mach schnell, to get rid of them. And that is like a recurring gag, is that everyone is like the cult episode. This is my favorite example, but the cult episode, someone is like, who would try and, manipulate young minds in this way? And then it cuts to Principal Blackman giving the announcements over the school PA system, which has his face superimposed on it and red lights where his eyes should be that blink every time he talks.
Get a little guest from Tim Meadows.
Playing Mr. Mittens, a former grief counselor. They keep calling him a former grief counselor, which is something I never picked up on until this time.
Yeah.
They always stress this is not his job anymore. Who knows what his job is, but he is a former grief counselor.
I think, Colbert who says, like, according to the vicious rumors I started, it was you that did it, or something like that.
Yes. Because Paul Cotton is the student who witnesses it. And he sees like someone leaving the scene of the crime, and then he becomes like a pariah in the school because everyone assumes that he spray painted the slur on the wall. And then Jerry loves him, immediately latches onto him. And this might be the most famous line from Strangers with Candy, because famously the Comedy Central censors told Amy Sedaris she could say one of three things that she prepared. In every take, she said all three, which was, right now, I'm as moist as a snack cake down there. So why don't you come back to my place? No, wait, she says, I like the pole and the hole. And right now, I'm as moist as a snack cake down there. So why don't you come back to my place and I'll make your pinky all stinky. I love her for it. I love it. Paul also, what I love is obviously a gay kid.
Yeah, right.
And this is where she does take Paul back to her house, where we do see for the first time her stepmom, played by Deborah Rush, who might be my favorite side character. Also, again, hates Jerry.
Yeah.
Does not hide her disdain for Jerry, but always like does it in a very like almost 1950s like friendly voice. She always has like a very friendly voice. Well, hello, Jerry. But she is very dismissive of Jerry and plays favorites with Derek, Jerry's stepbrother. And this is where we see the clitoral piercing that Jerry has, which is the Liberty Bell. Jerry just takes Paul Cotton back to her room, pulls down her pants immediately, jangles this bell at him, and then knocks her backpack, which has a can of black spray paint, which leads Paul to believe that she spray painted the slur on the wall. Can you believe it?
Can you believe it?
One of my favorite things that feels very new watching this episode today is that Mr. Jelinek, who is Paul Dinello, who is the art teacher in school, who is also having a gay affair with Chuck Noblet. He's a white guy. He is the first teacher, I think, to see the slur, and he makes it all about him.
Yeah.
Like the affront isn't to the students of color in school. It's the fact that he had to see this word, and it's just absolutely terrible to him. And he makes a big stink about it, and is always crying when he's being interviewed. And then later on, when we do find out that it was Jerry who spray painted the slur on the wall, Mr. Mittens and Principal Blackman are trying to like get information out of her, and they're like, why did you spray paint it? And she comes up with all these excuses that it was a pun, it was a play on words, it was all this stuff. And then she just caves and goes, I guess I just don't like black people very much. And then they look at each other and nod. And it reminds me of like Trump 2016, where all the media would like sort of wring their hands and be like, well, is Trump a racist? Or does he just use the racism of his followers to like, to excite them? I'm like, who can't? That's still racism.
Yeah.
He's manipulating people's racism to attack people of color. That's still being a racist. Like, it doesn't, why does
Yeah.
it matter what his goals are? And I was just reminded of that as like Principal Blackman are just trying to find out, well, why would you spray the paint this slur on the wall? We know why.
We also get the Mr. Blackman, like Principal Blackman shows like a super racist video.
Right. It's supposed to blow your mind where he's just in various guises, usually like careers where a racist may not expect a black person to be. And he's like, am I blowing your mind right now? Like, I think at one point he's dressed as a doctor. He's dressed as, what else does he do?
I can't remember.
It ends with him dressed as a squirrel. He says, yes, I'm a black man, and yes, I am dressed as a giant squirrel. That offends you, doesn't it?
Which we also gets my favorite part of the show, which is the end credits where the squirrel is dancing and then just blows up.
I don't understand how you can't like this show. Oh, Lord.
Want to move on to
I also,
guys.
My other favorite line was, bigot, isn't that just as bad as the word that was spray painted on the wall? Bigot means racist, Jerry. Oh.
Season 2, episode 2, Behind Blank Eyes. Please synopsize this one because I don't remember what happens.
In this episode, I don't think we synopsized the last episode, but in this episode...
Yeah, someone spray paints slur on the wall.
That's right.
That's pretty much it.
In this episode, there is a new student at Flat Point High, whose name I didn't catch. Oh, Alan. He is blind, but he wants to join the football team. And so, Jerry, because he is a man, is immediately struck by him. He is also quite cute. And she wants to take him to Pound Town. But everyone at the school does not want him to join the football team. And eventually he sues the school and they are forced to let him on the team, where he is promptly tackled by multiple members of the opposing team. And that's how the show ends.
I don't know. Did I like just pass out during this one or something?
I can't speak to that.
I have quotes from it. I have, he just doesn't snap my bean, which is something in there. And then Shazam, I think is what she says when she sees him for the first time. And then I also noted the new cartoon intro, which must be a season 2 thing.
I love a cartoon intro.
Yeah.
I feel like I've said that many times on this show.
Yeah.
I wish there were more cartoon intros for everything. Make more cartoon intros.
Yeah. It lets you know. Hey,
elect me, and on day 1, there will be every show will have an animated intro.
Are you going to do anything about the... No, nothing
Don't worry about it.
Yeah.
That will be fixed by the animated intros. Oh, the animated intros, they're going to be... you won't believe the animated intros we're going to have.
It lets you know, hey, here for a good time, not a long time. And it means probably not long, whatever you're about to watch.
22 minutes tops.
22 minutes if it's a show. Tight 90 if it's a movie.
It's true. 88 minutes, maybe, if you're lucky.
Maybe 90, yeah.
If there's dancing, if the characters have to dance at the end, we might push it to 90.
Speaking of dancing, is there dancing in these credits? Because I didn't write anything down about this.
Yes, at the end, they are all dancing. Alan, the blind character, throws his cane away and starts dancing sensuously with Jerry. And then the rest of the student body joins him, including... I'm trying to remember. I think the mascot is the Concrete Donkeys, which is a literal representation of a concrete donkey they have in their hallways. And so sometimes Principal Blackman, you'll hear him go, hook 'em donks, I think is what he says, which is one of the most awkward things to have everyone shouting, donk, donk, donk. So weird. This is one of my favorite episodes. I do like, again, clumsy delivery on purpose. He says, I can do everything you can do. I just can't see myself doing it. And later, she tries to walk him across the street, and then traffic comes and she abandons him. And you just see her on the sidewalk shouting, Alan, run towards the sound of my voice. Wait, run away from the sound of my voice. And she keeps turning her head so you can't hear where she's coming from. I love it. She almost killed that kid. This is also another instance of Jerry being absolutely disgusting. I'm sure you didn't like this line, but she says, "It makes me as damp as a cellar down there, all mildewy."
Ugh. I don't care for that.
Oh, God. I love how disgusting her flirting is. It would almost be like it would push someone away from wanting to engage in sexual activity with her.
Yeah. Yeah. But that's not her goal.
It seems like Alan liked it because he stuck his finger in a tape dispenser that she was trying to impersonate as being her genitals. It's just a good show. Also, another great Deborah Rush moment where Jerry brings Alan back to her house and uses that as an excuse to break all of her stepmom's valuables. And Alan, Deborah Rush takes Jerry aside and then before she talks to Jerry, she turns to Alan and goes, "Alan, this isn't about you, Alan. We just need to talk about you somewhere you can't hear." And she says, "I can't have him bumping into my priceless valuables during one of his sightless, destructive seizures."
Jesus.
Also, I missed this because I wrote it too close to the other paragraph. Jerry at one point says, "My ovaries are diseased." So don't worry about getting her pregnant.
Good Lord.
Then Jerry also to empathize with Alan, she decides to blindfold herself and try and live a day as a blind woman. And Alan is very impressed and thanks her for, making an attempt. But then later, Mr. Jelinek is walking down the hallway with a pair of scissors with the pointy end pointed into his throat. He's holding them in his mouth, and he trips. Some students have a piece of cord across the hall. He trips, and one of the popular students says, and Tyler and I couldn't stop laughing, "Bad time to be blind, Jerry. He just impaled himself on a pair of scissors." And they're just laughing and laughing and laughing. And then Jerry says, "Now I know the burden of being blind."
It's possible that I just passed out during this episode because I don't remember any of that.
Now, this also has one of my favorite Principal Blackman speeches. He gives the prayer before the game. I want to find that because it's a favorite of mine. He gives the prayer before the game, right before the, how prayers are done before high school football games. It's fine.
It's fine. Don't worry about it.
Because the Supreme Court said it was. Principal Blackman says, "Dear Lord, thank you for giving this game your undivided attention. We'll try to be brief so you can return your energies to the movement of the stars and the condemnation of the Jews. Please hand us an easy victory. I'm not saying that if we lose, we'll turn away. But do you really want to take that risk? And finally, just as you cured the blind, thank you for curing this team of the blind. Oh, and forgive me for that thing I do with the thing. Amen." What a deranged prayer. Do you really want to take that risk?
Just like
God.
threatening him.
Anyway.
We have season 2, episode 4, The Goodbye Guy. Daddy dies. He's killed by mascots.
Yes, he's killed by their rival high school, whose mascots are the rabid dogs. And naturally, as such, they keep literally rabid dogs on their football bus.
Football bus.
Is that a phrase? What do you call their traveling bus?
The team bus, yeah.
Team bus, of course.
Yeah. But, and then more importantly, it means that Jerry can't do the daddy student sack race. Yeah.
Oh, that golden sack. That's what Principal Blackman wants. He wants the golden sack, which is a trophy for winning the sack race against the rabid dogs. This is the episode, by the way, that made Stephen Colbert's mother stop watching the show. Stop watching the show. Is that
what
grammatically correct? This is the episode that made Stephen's mother stop watching the show. Yes. Because Stephen did have a tragedy with his father and some of his brothers. And so Mama Colbert was not interested in that scene where he's dressed as a clown and talks about my daddy will never die.
That, okay, I do like that. There's a moment where he's like, I can totally relate. And she's like, oh, did your daddy? He's like, of course not. Why would you even say that? My daddy's going to live forever. Which,
do you hear me, God? Another instance of threatening God. Right before that, he is, just to really drive the point home, he is dressed as a clown talking about Pagliacci's opera. And he says, and that is my lecture on mirth and merriment, just before Jerry walks in, and he says, Jerry, you're late. Why? And she goes, my daddy died. And he goes, whose hasn't? And the entire class puts their hands up to say they haven't. But don't even joke like that. That was a go-to quote that I like to throw out years ago. Don't even joke like that. Because he gets so fussy like a kid when he says it.
He like immediately very upset and like kind of on the verge of tears. There's my favorite line from this movie is before her dad dies, like why she goes away from him while he's like across the street. He goes, she says, boy, I'm thirsty. I'm gonna get a hot dog. And then she goes, what does she say? Like drag it through the
salt and don't be stingy. What is it with the onions? Is that what she says?
Something like that. Just disgusting.
She is disgusting.
Yeah.
And then she's so mean to the hot dog vendor, and then immediately like, boy, I don't know how I'm going to pay you for this, and starts rubbing the hot dog tip on her lips. I'm like, don't be so mean to him if you were planning to seduce him to get out of having to pay for it. She does keep eating the hot dog while watching her father being eaten by dogs. I did write down Jelinek. Mr. Jelinek also has a quote where he asks Jerry, if I can come to grips with your father's death, why can't you? And also Jerry says, maybe I am in denial, unless, of course, he's alive.
The guest who says, I do know death when I see it. I mean, I ought to. I'm an orthodontist. Just the so doctor weird. That tells her about her death. He's like, no, he's definitely dead. And she's like, so there's a chance? And he's like, no.
Janine Garofalo also has a brief part in this. Yes. She plays the current grief counselor, not like Mr. Mittens, who is a former grief counselor. I think her name is Cassie, which was supposed to be a play on casket. She has a good scene where she is supposed to talk to Jerry because she's sort of bringing the whole school down. Cassie talks to Jerry in the lunchroom, and she says, you're grieving. Go home and learn about your father. And Jerry's like, I already tried that. And she's like, maybe you missed the important part of my speech there. Go home. Get to know him better. And she's like, I think Jerry at that point says, no one knows what I'm going through. Something like that. And Cassie, like Colbert, flies off the handle. And she's like, oh, you'd like that, wouldn't you? You don't have a dad, so now nobody can have a dad. And she says, my dad's alive and yours is dead, and there ain't nothing you can do about it. Just deranged activity from the teachers. Also, Jelinek has a good speech. I don't remember the quote, but you find out that not only is his father alive, his grandfather and his great-grandfather are all still alive. But he, of course, in Jelinek fashion, he makes Jerry's father's death about him. And so he's like, I really should call my great-great-grandfather to see how he's doing. Deranged. This also, we see Keith Aucoin, who was a famous makeup artist, is apparently the guy at the funeral home who did the makeup for Guy. And we see him talking to Deborah Rush during the funeral scene. He's like that big guy, that big burly guy.
We get my favorite thing of the episode besides the boy, I'm thirsty is Colbert in a towel, like a towel wrapped around his head in the sauna. Just I don't know why. That's just funny. He's just funny.
It is strange that they have that. I forgot that it comes back twice. So weird.
And then, of course, she gets to dance with Daddy in the credits.
That's
So,
sweet.
that's
And they
nice.
dance like a sweet slow dance, and then they dance like a house dance. And it's cute.
Yeah.
You never lose your parents unless they die, and then they're gone forever. That is part of her speech from the end.
Blank Page, season 2, episode 5. We learn that Jerry's illiterate. She has to learn how to spell in order to try out to be a cheerleader because she doesn't know what VICTORY spells.
You know, nowadays when you can go on the Regal app and collect diamond points or whatever, picking your seat. We had a thing called Fandango that we used to purchase tickets.
Yeah.
And whenever I would see the commercials for Fandango, which I believe used brown bag puppets.
Yeah.
I would always think of Fandango, which is what Jerry thinks during
Hobo camp.
during the cheerleading tryouts. She thinks VICTORY spells Fandango, and then Hobo Camp. Hobo Camp.
The very beginning of the episode, we get there's what do you call it? The marquee outside of the school is a constant source of bits. But this is the first one I wrote down, which it just says C spot Dick Jane. That was pretty funny. The Herman's Head guy plays the bus driver.
Oh yeah, he plays the bus driver who is a source of inspiration for Jerry because he is the bus driver, but he cannot drive a bus. So he always just rides the bus, but doesn't drive it. And then later, he is inspired by Jerry's insistence that she's going to learn to read. He decides he's going to take driver's ed classes, which unfortunately, due to budget cuts, have been combined with the Spanish classes. And he later on, when he's failed because he doesn't know Spanish, Jerry says, "I thought you were going to learn how to drive." And he's like, I tried, but I couldn't conjugate the verbs.
Ken Hudson Campbell is that guy's name. He was also in Groundhog Day, very briefly. Buongiorno.
Oh, yeah, he works at the B&B.
Yeah.
I almost called it an Airbnb. That's not a thing then.
It's in your head.
Herman's Head.
Herman's Head.
He played Lust in Herman's Head, I believe.
I can't remember.
Herman's Head takes up an inordinate amount of my own head. I just want to say that. I don't think it was on but for 2 seasons, but like it was like right at the sweet spot of my growing up. And I think of it as like, we all know Herman's Head, correct? Like when Inside Out came out, I'm like, oh guys, it's like Herman's Head.
That's exactly.
And everyone's like, please stop bringing up Herman's Head.
What are you talking about?
What are you talking about? We've gained new references in the intervening 15 years.
And I'm like, that classic show, it was great. And then I'm like, was it great?
Remember it was on after Sinbad's show? Anyone?
Yeah. You guys all watch Sinbad?
It also had Yardley Smith on it?
Yeah. I don't have anything else for the blank page.
We do see a Sarah Thayer who plays Coach Wolf in this. She is running the cheerleading tryouts along with Mr. Jelinek, who is doing choreography. And when it's revealed, because reading is so necessary for being a cheerleader, when it's revealed that Jerry can't read, she says, "We will postpone these tryouts until we have all recovered from Jerry's shame." Also, Principal Blackman, I think there it starts to be becoming a running joke that he gets words confused. And so he said, or maybe it's just part of this because it's about literacy, but he says, "I'm an obtuse man, so I'll try and be oblique." But we also get, oh, sorry.
No, go ahead. I was going to say,
we get, Chuck Knoblet gets assigned to Jerry to teach her how to read. And Jerry says, "He hates me." And Principal Blackman says, "Nonsense. All students magnanimously believe that teachers hate them, but it's not true." And Chuck Knoblet goes, "No, actually, she's right on the money. I don't like her." And they do, we watch them try and teach Jerry how to read, which is fantastic. They start with the vowels. Well, they start with trying to teach her how to say her own name, which she thinks is gypsies. Dirty, thieving gypsies, she says. Then they try and teach her the vowels, which she identifies as TP, pitchfork with the handle broken off, doggy bone. And then she just points to Chuck Nobley and goes, faggot. And it's just fun. And then he says to her, when he gives up on her, I'd spell it out for you, but you don't know how to read. You are a 0, no good, fatty, idiot, fatty. And then she runs out in shame.
When she does learn to read, it's a very miracle worker moment. Like she's trying to say, well, I don't remember what word it is, but she like finally cat. That's what it is. She's like slobbering all over, and then she just starts.
And when she gets it, he puts her hand on his head and he nods like Anne Sullivan. Which I also learned from that same interview that they actively avoided doing obvious references to movies, but that was the one that made it in, was the reference to the 30-year-old miracle worker.
Timely.
See, I also sometimes still think of desks, more than one, singular. She's stupid. She doesn't know things.
I want to read for Jerry's Burning Issue, season 3, episode 1.
What are we learning about this episode?
I just want to read.
Okay.
So Jerry has syphilis. That's the synopsis of the episode. Yeah. This is the most upsetting one. I just want to read my very few notes here. Some of these are quotes. Some of these are just notes. The works fell out years ago. Cold sore.
Looks a lot like a cold sore.
Gay kid getting the shit beat out of him.
Amazing.
Chocolate scabies.
From Clap is the name of the producer of the cereal. It's Clap at the top.
You've seen the business end of a needle before. And I hate this so much. That is not a quote. That is me making an editorial note.
But did you like Dr. Zorders?
Yes.
He's like a very jovial doctor. He's always like sort of doing dad jokes, but then immediately turns very serious at critical points. Like at one point he has to give her an injection on her ass. So he goes, whoa, whoever worked on this last time did some shoddy work. And then he leans over and he goes, no, but seriously, did you get the license plate of the guy who hit you? No, seriously, it's a mess back here. And then jabs her with a penicillin injection. This is a very visceral episode. Yeah. It starts with her boyfriend, already sweaty, post-coitally, saying, oh, I've been with so many other girls. Actually, I can't keep this up. This is my first time. And then that's when Jerry appears with handcuffs on her wrist. And she goes, me too. Later, we find out that she had an orgy in the back of a cab because the cabbie comes to let her know, because that's the right thing to do. If you do have an STD, you want to let your previous sex partners know.
Very cheerily.
He's very cheery about it. He goes, I think I'm supposed to tell people. I already told the other guys who were there. And then later, while he's leaving, he's like, hey, once we get this all cleared up, do you want to go for a ride in my cab again? And she goes, this is a very Damon Tyler thing, which is she points her ring finger, which has no ring on it. And she goes, are you blind? I have a boyfriend. And he goes, is that a yes or a no? And she's like, yes.
We get
it's very hard to do because you have to use your thumb to push out your ring finger. I have a boyfriend.
I'm gonna do it without.
It doesn't work with you because you got a ring on that finger.
I got a ring. So yeah, Nabla and Jellyneck, who are in a relationship, are like trying to hide their massive cold sores.
That get really bothersome.
Really upsetting by the end of the episode
because they just let them fester. And Jellyneck attempts to sort of come up with an excuse for why he has this thing on his lip, because Jerry keeps sort of aggressively going, looks a lot like a cold sore. Yeah. He says at one point, I bumped my lip on a biscuit. And then later on, when it's getting worse, he says, my lip fell down a flight of stairs. Also, Tyler likes to reference hoses and stuff. What's purer than water? So let's just get like hoses and stuff. And that is the theme. Purity is the theme of the dance.
That's right.
So I can't remember the name of her boyfriend, but his father works the water filtration system. So they're just going to put hoses and stuff all over the gym, which is ludicrous, but also kind of accurate to high school dances.
Yeah.
And then that becomes a running joke where he doesn't want to hang out with Jerry anymore because, she gave him syphilis. And she's like, I can't plan the dance. He's got all the hoses and stuff. Like, it's absolutely necessary that we have hoses and stuff at this dance.
They end up doing an STD themed dance. And then
which is disgusting.
He shows up and he's fully dying Nietzsche style from syphilis.
His brain don't work good no more. He's like sort of drooling. He's like hunched over. He looks really sweaty, which has been alluded to throughout because he keeps saying he needs to check something out in the bathroom because it's like a weenie roast down there and that his balls are hot to the touch. At some point, Jerry forgets to tell him to get the penicillin injections she's been getting throughout the entire episode. Absolutely amazing. Tammy Littlenut, which I'm sad to say, she is a consistent part of the show, but this is the first time I think we watched an episode where she is featured. She's the redhead friend of Jerry.
Oh, yeah.
Telling her that, she needs to tell whatever his name is about syphilis. And Jerry says, I can't sit here and listen to your spook stories, especially if they're going to convince me to do the right thing.
I'm recognizing her for something. I think it's Superstore. She is
in Superstore. She had a bit part on the 4th season of Arrested Development. She played Michael's dead wife. She also was in an episode or two of 30 Rock. Kenneth had a crush on her. What else I also often reference that Marilyn Monroe gave John F. Kennedy a case of syphilis so bad it blew the back of his head off.
Jesus Christ.
I want to talk about Jimmy Tickles, who is the kid who keeps saying how jazzed he is. Yeah. And then promptly getting beaten up by a jock who's at points just literally waiting in the wings just for him. There. It's almost like they have an arrangement, like a business arrangement. I'm going to say something super gay, and then you're going to beat the shit out of me. It is disturbing, but again, it has like an echo of like, this kind of feels like high school, like being yourself and saying something that it expresses how you truly feel and then being mocked. Or in this case, had the shit beaten out of you by a jock just waiting for you to screw up. In the first scene, it happens. He says, I'm super jazzed. The jock comes by, punches him. And then later on, Jimmy Tickles gets up and says it again. He rejoins the conversation as if nothing's happened and then says he's super jazzed again. And the guy comes from the same direction again and just punches him again. And all his friends are laughing and having fun. And Mr. Jelinek, who is a man in a closeted gay relationship, also kicks Jimmy Tickles while he's down. Jimmy Tickles also is a recurring character.
He just has more like a black eye later in the episode. I guess it's like, obviously they're like kind of making fun of it, but also you got to give it to him for continuing to just try to be himself,
He's like, this is the price I pay, but I am Jimmy Tickles, damn it. And I am super jazzed, and I feel like people should know it.
Yeah.
DJ, this shirt was a wrong choice. I feel like this shirt is too close to my skin tone.
I know. I just keep thinking you have like giant skin tags.
See,
that you're just
you won't
shirtless.
even watch an STD episode of Stranger Candy, but
you're just shirtless. As you often podcast shirtless, it makes sense. And then you're just flapping those things around.
Oh, can you imagine?
The final episode we watch is the final episode of the series, season 3, episode 10, The Last Temptation of Blank. They're turning the school into a strip mall actively while students are still there, even though it's the last week of school, but not the last day of school, I guess. And then,
the school board, Mark McKinney and Sherry O'Terry appear as school board members who are very actively involved in the construction work and clearing out of the school.
They're like doing some of the work. Yeah. And then, meanwhile, Winona Ryder plays super popular girl who like takes it on as she's so cool that she believes that she can make Jerry cool. And so
she's
takes
all
it
that.
Yeah. So she takes it upon
She's
herself
all
to
that.
try to make Jerry popular. And
who's the guy who's going to ask her out?
Oh, Paul Rudd. Yes. A very funny.
Who has some very great poses in this episode. He doesn't have a spine at certain points.
The best bit is Winona Ryder, who's looked very cute in this. And,
she's an attractive lady. She's a comely lass.
The very 90s hair that eventually she has Jerry mimic as well. She she's trying to get her to notice Jerry, who's standing there, and he's like, hey. And then so she has to she's like, follow me. And she makes him follow her until she goes behind Jerry. And he's like, oh, hey. And then she has to do it again because he doesn't notice her.
She's like, would you like to go out with Jerry? And he's like, who's he?
Who's Jerry? Who's he? I did like Colbert Noblet's line where he says, I thought it would be behoovy if you...
They said in that same interview, they said at times they would, leave typos in these scripts on purpose, which is why during the Daddy Dad episode, Jerry says, this was this one time. And she's telling a story about, going to the circus with her dad. But she says, this was this one time. They just are having fun.
I think my favorite line actually comes from Mark McKinney when he's talking about how the school doesn't make any money. And the principal's like, but it's a public school. And he's like, so's a privately held business, but they make money.
I also like at the end when the stores are opening in the school, like during the last week, the Cinnabunnery, the Corndoggery is open. Yeah. It looks like a Comfort Zone, which is referenced in the first episode, is going to open there. There's there's a poster on the wall for the Comfort Zone. And there's also, we didn't watch this episode, but there's an episode where there's real cool shoes are in fashion and Jerry steals a pair. And there's a display of those cool shoes out. But at one point, when Blackman realizes that the jig is up, he says, "You're turning my school into a strip mall." And Mark McKinney goes, "We're not turning this school into a strip mall." And Sherry O'Terry turns to him and like, "But we are, right?" And Mark's like, "Yeah." I love Sherry O'Terry. Sherry O'Terry is funny. Still is funny. I just want to say she's great.
Yeah.
And I feel like she doesn't get her dues enough, but she's hysterical.
Yeah, I think she definitely has moments where it gets a little on my nerves, like some of the characters on old SNL days. But I think that happens to everyone. If you're in enough sketches, some of them are going to be annoying.
Before we leave our episodic discussion, I want to say one last Jerry Blank line that I know will make you uncomfortable.
Great.
Fran, Winona Ryder, goes to Jerry's house to try and make her cool, realizes that her bedroom looks like a serial killer's crawl space. And Jerry jumps on the bed and she says, "Why don't I grab some nail polish and we can paint each other's clitorises?" I love her so much. Don't put nail polish. I mean, I don't have a clitoris, but I wouldn't put nail polish on my penis.
I feel like that's
so I feel like you shouldn't do that.
Feels like a bad idea.
I know a lot of people take their beauty and health advice from Jerry Blank. Don't do it.
I want to talk about a general thing because we were called out. This is unrelated to this episode, but about our Buffy episode, where they said that Lisa thought that maybe we missed some of the camp. I want to talk about the concept of camp because I feel like this episode, I think you can have something that's campy without intending to be, but I think this is very intentionally camp. But what do you like when you talk about camp, or when you think it's a very special thing for the gay community? I know, and I don't want to speak expertly on it because I don't know what I'm talking about.
And I also never can settle on a great definition.
What?
I think early examples of it being cited oftentimes, I think one of the,
But I'm a
the famous
cheerleader.
quotes, I don't have a quote, but like Oscar Wilde once said that he read a story about a young man dying of illness, and it was the funniest story he ever heard. And a lot of people like reference that as like the beginnings of camp. There is all essays, plenty of essays about camp. It can be intentional. And I feel like we did reference the campiness of Buffy. Maybe we didn't say the word camp, but I feel like we talked about, especially during the Hush episode, the sort of Scooby-Doo of it all, which is a conscious reference that Joss Whedon worked into Buffy. Yes, I think I saw the camp in Buffy, and I see the camp here.
I don't want to talk about Buffy. I'm just saying, like, how relating this back to Strangers with Candy, which is I think is that kind of part of the reason why it's become like very special to the gay community. And she's pansexual, apparently.
she likes the pole in the hole.
Yeah. I guess that's
I think there is a campiness. One of the things I love about Amy Sedaris is that she's not really like a setup punchline comedian. She really sort of creates characters and really works in those, like lives in those characters. I think of, me and Tyler have just been rewatching Girls Five Eva. She plays Busy Phillips' very conservative Christian mom who is constantly holding her husband's hand. And she's covered in furs and like American flag hats that are bedazzled. She's very anti-Jerry Blank. She's very like glammed up in that moment. It very reads as Franklin, Tennessee. I know that's a very niche reference geographically, but find the most affluent suburb in your area, and she's very that. And so I think she is very character based, and I think there's a campiness that comes from that. She's never realistic. She's never playing like, yes, she really embodied that Florida woman in that episode of 30 Rock. She really is always going over the top. And even in like, I don't know if you watched ever At Home with Amy Sedaris, which was her cooking show that she did.
No.
Well, it was on True TV. But I feel like that was also rife with, it's not like explicit jokes. There's just like a whole sort of vibe to it of nothing should be taken seriously. Everything is sort of glammed up. Like one of the things in like At Home with Amy Sedaris is like, it looks like a set. It looks deliberately to like brightly lit, and it looks artificial on purpose. And it has like a mid-century vibe to it because I think she's sort of commenting on, I don't know if Amy Sedaris would ever say, I'm commenting on this. I think she's like, I just thought this was fun to do.
Yeah. Definitely this too. Like they just thought it was fun to play in the sandbox of after school specials. It seems like they're like, this is rife for just making insane.
and I think that shows in the finale where they're like, and now she's just going to go back on the streets again, but now with Principal Blackman and Chuck and Mr. Jellyneck. They're like, yeah, we're done with these characters. It was fun.
Yeah.
Nothing is meant to be realistic, and I don't think there's any like insightfulness that they're intending. I think they sometimes do have like points that are made, but I think there's just like a silliness to it.
Yeah.
And an arch reality. And like I was talking about I sometimes think of this as like one of the more realistic portrayals of high school, is that there is like a truth to how desperate the teachers want to be liked by the popular students, and how the teachers hate their jobs and secretly resent, all these things and would rather just be, hanging out in the teacher's lounge sauna than actually teaching anyone.
Which every school had.
And not doing a good job teaching either.
Right. Just want to point out that it was fun to see, because we get to see Jerry made up towards the end, and she's more like normal Amy Sedaris. Amy Sedaris is like a normal pretty lady. Like,
yeah, she's a cute girl.
Yeah. And so we see her like go in and out of the Jerry face, like with her,
because it's hard to do the voice, I imagine, without the...
Yeah, and I thought that was really interesting to see her like go in and out of it, because she's like trying to be pretty and like keep her, mouth normal, and then she just keeps going back. Like when she's concerned for a second, it's very
She still can't get her blinking synchronized, which is something that Amy Sedaris still does in like almost everything she does. She sort of can't sync up her blinking, and it always is a little like, here's a little Jerry for you. Just popping up when I'm playing Mimi Canassis and Inkimi Schmidt. I'll just blink asynchronously.
I wonder if that strained her neck after a while doing that.
I imagine it would.
Had to.
I have a thicker neck, and so you can't see my tendons. My neck just gets wider.
Do you want to go to the verdict?
I do.
I'm going to go first because I think it'll be more fun if you end with yours. Have you ever seen a talent show and let's say even a friend, like someone that you like, which I like a lot of the performers in this show, and they do a sketch with their friends or with some people, or maybe it's a one person sketch, and it's meant to be funny, and you're like there to support it, and it's just not hitting, it's just not funny, and you just kind of go, good job. That is this show for me. I named a smattering of things that sort of made me chuckle, but there's just this show makes me extremely uncomfortable. I don't like it. I like a lot of these people. I'm glad they got the chance to do it. I'm glad that you get some enjoyment out of it. I was really hoping that I just sort of missed something. And I still am missing it. I think You're in Charles an Idiot. This is a bad show. I don't like it. It makes me uncomfortable in every possible way. There are some funny bits, and I think that if this tickles your funny bone, then I think you're going to like it all the way through. This kind of kept getting worse and worse. It does kind of like hit more of a stride in those middle episodes. It feels like a little less like they were still figuring out the bit, I think, in the beginning, and then they kind of like hit a little bit of a stride, and then it got like a little too wacky. Like most sort of comedy shows kind of like go through that arc, I feel like, but it's still like all under things that I enjoyed. So I don't want to just shit on it because I like his performance. I think Stephen Colbert usually is just like, I just find him funny, and even him, it's like, I think it's just like too mean too. Like something about it is like, if I don't find it funny, which obviously mean is a lot more acceptable if you find it funny. Like Seinfeld, they're all mean and terrible characters, but like I find mostly that funny. And this, it was like, okay, now they're just being mean and it's not funny. So I'm like, now I just feel bad. I want to, let's see. Do I want to do some nominees though? I mean, Colbert's my MVP, but I don't know if I can, if that's secret MVP. If that accounts for a Catherine O'Hara Memorial MVP award.
Yeah, I want to nominate Deborah Rush as the stepmom, but I don't think we saw her enough in the episodes we chose. There's a good episode where we find out that she's been drinking, that she has a drinking problem. And that's a good one. But I don't think I can nominate her based on these episodes alone. But Deborah Rush, if you're listening, and I'm pretty confident you are, I love you, and you're great in this. And I just watched She-Devil, and you were great in that too, as the journalist who exposes Meryl Streep.
What's your verdict?
I wanted to pipe in on. I
Sally Field too.
I like Colbert a lot. I'm trying to think of like what scenes in this like really stand out for him. Let's see.
It's definitely more vibes. The sort of like really scenery chewingness of Greg Holloman of like Principal Blackman. I can't do it. I can't nominate him.
He would have been my runner up, but I'll second Colbert.
I would give it to Paul, if we can give Paul Rudd maybe the Sally Field, because I do really like that. I don't want to give it to all dudes. Like if there's I was
gonna say that the Greg Holloman's Prayer was my Sally Field.
Okay, I'll take that. I'll give that to him. That way you get your Greg Holloman too. But I do think that Amy Sedaris deserves some props just for making just a truly detestable character, the main character of a show.
All right, I'd like to talk about my
Please.
This show.
What is your verdict? Yeah.
This show is good. Your inner child is not an idiot. If you like clitoral piercings of bells, if you like various ways of saying someone's vagina is moist, this is the show for you. If you like people saying that they can't get pregnant because their ovaries are diseased, or that the works fell out years ago, this is the show for you. I had a hard time narrowing it down to the 7 episodes that we watched. And even that was, I could feel the eye roll coming from DJ when I listed out 7. But
via text.
But I still regret that there are so many episodes we didn't get to. I referenced Deborah Rush's drinking episode. There is the cult 2-parter, the episode where they all start taking steroids for track meets and start growing beards. By the end, their beards are like ZZ Top style beards, and they're flying behind them during their track meets. There is like a grossness. There's a visceral nature to this show that I can see why. And even like looking at the decorations for that STD themed dance, me no likey. But just there's so many one-liners in the show. There are so many unhinged performances. I just love that they went all in. Can I defend every joke? I will. I was surprised this didn't come up, but there is a problematic corner to this. There are a lot of racist one-liners in this, especially aimed at Orlando, her best friend, which are kind of tough to watch these days.
Well, it's kind of like not to jump in, but like it's this is one of those that's hard to. It's like putting South Park in a problematic corner to some extent because they're like poking fun of things, but also participating in the things at the same time. So you're like,
I was about to reference South Park. Exactly. Yeah.
Just because you point it out doesn't completely let you off the hook every time. Like, I think putting a button on it does kind of like give you a little leeway because you're making fun of the thing, but then you're also, and you know, like Jerry is like a detestable character. Like, she literally wrote the N-word on the wall. Like,
that's literally, like, I mean, the whole point is like, who would be a character that would constantly need after school help, after school special help on a regular basis,
and just miss
the worst
every single
person
point
in the world.
Yeah.
And sometimes I think that sort of like ironic detachment works. I think the racism episode where the slur is spray painted on the wall works in a lot of ways because they are making fun of the very premise that you could solve racism in a person over the course of a few days. You just have to get a very light-skinned person of color that she mistook for a white person to solve the problem. But yeah, I mean, it is a lot of fun. If you have enjoyed like Amy Sedaris and other things in Sex and the City or in Kimmy Schmidt, you are probably going to like her in this. It is fun to be reminded.
The Mandalorian?
The Mandalorian, of course. Mando and Grogu. Is that his name?
Yeah.
Thank you. I pay attention to the things that come across my feed, specifically when Amy Sedaris, who I follow on Instagram, was like, hey, check out The Mandalorian this week. Here's a picture of me with Grogu. But yeah, this also was a bonding moment for me and Tyler when we first got together. Was that we
started getting intimate.
We started touching each other's jennies when we were as moist as a snack cake down there. We bonded a lot over Jerry Blank, and I remember being obsessed with this show to the point where I made my brother watch it. I made another friend that, who loved I Stole the TV. I made them watch it. I remember bonding with my friend Teddy, who used to date my best friend. I talked to him all the time about Strangers with Candy. We would do our Jerry Blank impressions. It's just a great, funny show. There are some like late 90s, early 2000s, like ironic racist one-liners that I don't care for now, but overall it's a 8.5, and I'm super jazzed. Your job is to punch me.
I know this is basically a hate crime that I don't like this because this is especially the gay community, and
absolutely thank you for saying it.
Yeah. And listen, I know you don't need any additional compliments, but you do a pretty good Jerry Blank.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I've worked hard on it over the past 25 years.
Do you want to read the patrons in your Jerry Blank as we thank them?
I sure would.
What do you think, everybody? Email us, yourinnerchildisanidiot@gmail.com. Email Damon and tell them how wrong I am about it. You can text us or leave us a voicemail, 615-576-0525. We want to thank our patrons for supporting the show, including Stu-StusStuartJ,
Lindsay Halik,
Tippi Von Cheaterly,
Karen Curd,
Josh Frigo,
Zachary Hartley.
Mine is getting into Will Ferrell's Harry Carey. Dr. Malcolm's Heaving Bosom.
That's terrible, Jerry. And a terrible Harry Carey as well. Oh, this is going to be tricky. Oh no, Damon's Australian accent.
The supreme ruler of this podcast.
Jeremy Powlen.
T. Smith.
The Zesty.
Heather Tuggle. Heather Tuggle.
Oh, my dear Lord. Lindsay Nell.
Beth Surmont.
Travis Vance.
Shit on the Cartouche.
Little Miss Chicken Nugget.
Captain Jean-Luc Picard.
Larissa Mastro.
The Hands of Fate.
Jackson used to have an unhealthy obsession with Damon, but it ended when he heard his Buffy verdict.
Ooh.
Sad.
That's so sad. Caroline Amberson.
The Elusive fame Gromkin.
Bill Haynes.
His Honor the Mayor.
Particle Man.
Tommy Boy is Damon's favorite movie.
And Jonathon Day. Thank you all very much, and I'm sorry.
That was rough.
Patreon.com.
I think mine just turned into like a Southern Belle near the end.
Oh my. Patreon.com/innerchildisanidiot if you want to support like them. Thanks for the show, everybody. Thanks for listening. And
Jackson, I've been dumped for less, so
you can't hurt me because I'm already hurt.
Hurt people hurt people.
It's true.